let's talk nuts and bolts then. I suppose there are two aspects to captaincy. You've got the on-field stuff that we all see, strategy, tactics, leadership on the field, and then the stuff that we don't see off the field, man management, dealing with people, all that kind of thing. Let's just talk about on the field. If there's a young captain out there watching this chat now, what are the first principles that a captain should set to his team in terms of setting a field, setting how they want their team to go about playing?
I would say be true to yourself, especially as a young captain. You'll have a lot of people with loads of ideas, and you know your mates will be coming up with ideas, etc., and you'll take them because you want to be liked and you want to be popular. When they go wrong, it will be you under the microscope. So be true to yourself, so that when you make a decision, go on gut feel. I still think in captaincy, if you've played the game long enough, you'll have a gut feel, and this is what he would have been brilliant at. The amount of times he sits up there, or Straussy the other day, Strauss was on commentary, and something happened. One of the players played forward, West Indies players, and Strauss said, you ain't going to be getting another one of those, you're going to get next ball short.
Although he would be regarded as a captain who embraced the use of statistics, which has certainly come into the game and perhaps impacted upon that a little.
He showed still he has that gut feel. Now, what you've got to be careful of, if you have that gut feel and someone, the vice captain, comes and overrules, and you think, do you know what, I wish I'd got, even your mistakes. If you go with your mistakes, toss at Brisbane, whatever, it was your mistake, you own it. You don't live the rest of your life thinking, why didn't I do it that way? I wanted to do it that way. So you're judged on your good things and your bad things. Just have that gut feel. And if you're constantly asking, if you're constantly Tim Payne and having the coach and having the vice captain, you never develop those instincts.
But is that something you can learn then in the field? Or is it an instinct and you have it? Or can you get better at that? Can you read and learn the game and improve as you go along?
Yeah, first of all, I think that if you're a young captain out there, create an environment that's fun. Create an environment that everyone can express themselves, but they know who's in charge. And you're going to make the final decision. And then you've got to trust that. So you have to know yourself as well, and you have to trust yourself, but creating an environment that everyone's having a good time. They're looking forward to going to play. They're looking forward to go out and field, because all the best winning teams, you know where you spend most of your time? Out on the field. So you've got to spend it, make it fun, and you've got to have those guys in your side that you need different characters in your team. Being a leader is a born or made. I think you can get better as a tactician, you can get better at off-field stuff, you can get better at different things, but I think some people are just better at leading than others. They just are. They're just naturally, people gravitate towards someone more than another person. That's just the way life is. So I think someone that's got a great natural leadership about them, I think they could get better at certain other parts of their life. I think someone that is made captain can get better at watching, learning, listening, talking to people, and then evolving into a better captain.
Well, you made the point about Alan Border right at the start of this chat, who was a reluctant captain, came under heavy criticism in his early days as a captain, but now is venerated and revered as one of the great Australian captains.
Yeah, he is. He was thrust upon him. He didn't want to be captain. He never aspired to be captain, but he was the best player in the side, the only one really that was guaranteed a spot. So they said, hey, mate, you're captain. And so to deal with everything he had to deal with at that time, end up bringing the best out in him. And I think all of us Australian players that came after him and got the opportunity to play under him learnt about how hard Test cricket is. Test cricket is not easy. I don't care how good you are, it is difficult. And you need to be tough. You have to be tough. And I think he showed us. So you think of the Taylors, the Wars, the Boones, the McDermotts, the Hughes, and then the late 80s, early 90s, myself, I came along, and then McGrath came along a bit later. So all of us had the opportunity to learn under Alan Border, and he became a fantastic and one of the best captains Australia had had, basically for his toughness, and he's inspired, as well as we're talking about the communication and man management and everything. As a captain, there are still times in the game where you can win it for the game, whether it be with a bat, with a ball, a tactical thing. You still need to inspire your team, and that can be communicating and on the field with your actions.
Off the field, I suppose, to put it in a nutshell, the aim of a captain is to allow individuals to express themselves and be the best version of themselves that they can be, without impacting in a negative way on what the team has to do. I suppose that we could put it in a nutshell. You did a fascinating documentary series with Kevin Peterson.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask you a difficult question. At the end of that, where did your sympathies lie? With the player or with those who had to captain him and lead him and organise the team?
You could have warned me you were going to have to throw Kevin under the bus.
So Ats was starting to smile when he asked the
My sympathy would have been with the people that had to manage and handle Kevin Peterson, because I can bet Kevin was an incredibly tough person.
But that would have changed, wouldn't it? Right at the start in 2005, pre-IPL, pre-KP becoming the cricketer and the person that he became, perhaps it might have been easier for Michael Vaughan than perhaps Andrew Strauss later on.
Absolutely, and nothing, you know, I've bigged up Michael earlier, and nothing makes me more cross than someone saying, well, look at the way Vaughan and Fletcher handled him. When you first come in and you've just come from South Africa and you're playing Notts, you're in the England side and you're playing against Shane Warne in the Ashes, you're going to jump at every word Vaughan and Fletcher says. Later on, that when the IPL becomes a distraction and you're the star of English cricket, you want out, you want to go and do something different. Kevin had some very good points in that documentary, by the way, and Kevin made captains and gave them the record, some of the knocks that Kevin played. So handling people, as I said earlier, handling people is a key part. For me personally, I remember Duncan when we took over. I'd never met Duncan Fletcher, and we met at Lord's, and he said to me, you lot aren't the best side in the world, but you shouldn't be the worst side in the world. And we were. When we lost, when I went up and got booed at the Oval against New Zealand, when we lost, we got booed and we were officially the worst test side. When you think of everything we've got, the worst test side in the world, really? So my job was to try and make us better somehow, not Australia. And everyone used to go on about, look at Australia, look at what are they doing. I used to sit in ECB, what are they doing? What are Australia? Well, they got Shane Warne, Steve Waugh, Mark Waugh, Glenn McGrath. What are New Zealand doing? What's Stephen Fleming doing there that's always making them punch above their weight? So I used to look at him in particular as an exceptional captain, Stephen Fleming. And then we went into selection. I'd sit in selection and new captain, and I used to hear everything about what an individual couldn't do.
Yeah.
Andy Caddick can't bowl in the first innings, he does it in the second innings. Graham Thorpe doesn't do anything else apart from get runs. He averages 42, that'll do for me, he gets runs. Phil Tufnell is a bad tourist. Well, you've toured with Phil Tufnell. He's a blooming good tourist. When we're losing, Tuffers brings a smile to our face.
Good is not necessarily one word, I mean, you could have used a few more.
Good tourist. So we used to try and look at what do people actually bring to the team. And there were some non-negotiables for me. The three people that were non-negotiables were Michael Atherton, Alex Stewart, and Darren Gough and Graham Thorpe. They were my core of that team, because everyone when Vaughan and Trescothick come in, they look at Stewart and they look at you, how are they going about it. You know, Gough set the right tone in everything he did. You're talking about someone who would do well under pressure. Darren Gough would always do that. And Graham Thorpe, they couldn't pick a better batting coach for someone when you're 20 for 3 and you're pushing them out the door 20 for 2 to face Wasim and Waqar. Thorpe was your golden nugget. So then you had to add to that the sort of change the dynamic of the team, the sort of critical mass of that team. Get some good people involved that would change us into a winning team. So even though they weren't great cricketers, the likes of Ashley Giles and Paul Collingwood, they were very good cricketers, by the way, when they first came in. You brought them in to change the dynamic of the team. That if Freddie was messing around when we're hitting at the stumps, you'd be amazed the amount of times you're throwing at a stump in the morning and people aren't exactly aiming at the stump, they're just doing it for the sake of it. And me and Duncan would have to say, come on Fred, can you aim at the stump please, we're trying to do that. And because it's me and Duncan, it's not now lads, coach and captain's having another go. But when one of your teammates, when Paul Collingwood goes, Freddie, any danger of hitting those stumps? Then he listens.
Duncan used to call a critical
mass of changing that team.
A critical mass of people with good qualities.
Yeah. Two things happen then. When you're Paul Collingwood and you've had a go at your teammate, when it's your turn to throw at that stump, you better blooming well hit it, because you're going to get nailed by Flintoff and his mates. And you immediately get called the brown nose of the team. You're with the coach, you're always trying to get in the side. So there, you're putting yourself under pressure by doing that. And that's the one thing I'd say about this Joe Root, that hidden stuff that we don't talk about. This Joe Root side, that critical mass. Why do you think Butler survived so long? Butler is part of that critical mass, that when Butler speaks in that dressing room, you can, because he doesn't say a lot, you can bet everyone hangs on every word Butler says. Chris Wokes is a very popular member of that team. They have a core of players now. Stokes, obviously, Root himself. So when they have come under pressure, they're a flawed side, but when they do come to Headingley, when they do come the other day to Old Trafford, they are a side that deliver under pressure because he's changed that critical mass.
We've got an
an
inspection at 11:50, but so we've got a bit of time. We'll keep going. There's another couple of topics I wanted to touch on, but go on.
Just to pick up on Nasser's point about the KP interview that he did, I was
KP,
captain Hampshire here, and I captained KP. And obviously it didn't take very long to work out that he liked KP. He liked Kevin Peterson. So it was a matter of how do you get the best out of KP, because you knew how good he was. And I was one of his biggest supporters. When he wasn't in the England side, I said, how can England not pick this guy? This guy's a match winner. This is what they need. And I did that in 2005 before the Ashes. But I wanted him in my side. I knew he was good. So it was about the leaders getting the best out of him. And what you call the critical mass, some of the other players, like at Collingwood, that's saying something. So, hey, KP, pull your head in, mate. But you have to make him feel important. How England, I think, eventually treated him, they said, mate, you just go out and make runs. We're going to worry about what's going on. That was wrong. Kevin Peterson had to be made feel important, and that was to get the best out of him. Things like, KP, what do you think we should do today? And the captain might, I used to just walk out and say, KP, what do you reckon? Who should be 12th man? Now, I've already made the decision, but I wanted to make him feel important, that he's part of the leadership group. He's so important to the team, and I'm making him feel important. That's how you get the best out of those sort of guys. And you don't let them get away with 1 inch. If they step out of line, you're the one that nails them absolutely straight away. If you let him get away with a little bit and don't upset him, don't do that, then he'll take a mile. You've got to nail them straight away. These are the team rules, and you've got to make them feel important. And that's where I think England went wrong at the end.